cancer and other skin diseases affect. And that's why they're doing the work that they do. They've trained students to be able to understand the skin and hair products in our economy, and they're training some of these students to locally produce what is relevant, both scientifically and otherwise. So I have, today Professor Ntantla Khumalo, who's the founder and director of the Hair and Skin Research Lab at the University of Cape Town. But we also have the Services SETA Executive Manager for Corporate Services, Mr. Sibusiso Dladla. Services SETA is supporting this people who are, want to be active in this industry and sector. I have also Karabo Kekana, who's a founder of Afro Ama, and Nandi Pameshala, who's a UCT Hair and Skin Research Lab student. She's doing her master's in trichology. She's going to tell us more about what that means. And then we also have Liz Litswalo, who's the founder of Masodi Organics. But we also have you. You'd be, if you want to, contribute into this discussion, feel free, request to speak. We'll grant you that space to air your views. And I want to start with Professor Khumalo. Prof, you are doing quite exciting work at the University of Cape Town. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Yes, Deputy Minister, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on this wonderful platform, and congratulations for your forward thinking to do this sort of thing. It doesn't happen often, so we really appreciate the opportunity. And good afternoon, colleagues, friends, and everyone who's on board. I'm delighted to share about what we are doing at the University of Cape Town, and I want to start by saying none of it would be possible without funding from various government institutions. Initially, we were funded by the National Skills Fund, and then subsequently by the Services SETA. We're very grateful for that. So the journey is best captured, I think, if I tell you about my own journey, because you will see how it all fitted. So I grew up in Soweto, a little girl who was very scared of the comb, used to run away from my mother combing me to go to school. And we eventually settled on a very short hairstyle for the rest of my life. And when I became a doctor, I was fascinated with what we can understand about hair and what is available. And I was really shocked when I started dermatology to find out that there really wasn't much science that had been applied to African hair specifically, but even African skin. But African hair was a real dead end. I did a project in Oxford with someone working using the scanning electron microscope, and we detailed for the very first time the root to tip characterization of African hair. And I was quite amazed that it took that long to do it. And then after that, we suddenly realized that there were actually quite a lot of side effects, particularly coming from relaxers, with lots of people losing their hair, some people having chemical burns and permanent scalp hair loss. And so I thought I was going to tell the industry about this, and we're going to stop doing these treatments. And I was shocked when I went and did a presentation at a group for a group in Princeton, at Princeton University, where I showed them the data. They saw the results of what these things are doing. At the end of my talk, I said to them, sodium hydroxide is more than 100 years old. There isn't any other technology that we're using that is more than 100 years old. Why have we not advanced? Sodium hydroxide is only good enough for a blocked drain, not to put on a scalp of a child or an adult. When I left the room, there was a white man, a cosmetic formulator, who followed me. He was actually walking with a walking stick. And he said to me, I'll tell you why this will never change. He said, the profit margin is huge. Sodium hydroxide is cheaper than water. It's never going to change until Black women make a decision that it must change. And that was the last international meeting I went to. I came back home and I said to myself, if we don't change this, no one is going to change it. So we started the Hair and Skin Research Lab. We looked for funding. We then actually discovered that there wasn't even a qualification in the country to train people to make cosmetics. So what was actually happening was that people would be employed as scientists by a cosmetic company, and then they would learn on the job. There was one course that was offered, that is a diploma course that you don't have to have a BSc to do, and it's a part-time diploma course. I think it's offered by the Cosmetic Chemistry Society of South Africa. But the difference between that course and what we are doing at UCT is like saying, when you bake a cake, you need 3 cups of flour and a teaspoon of baking soda, compared to someone who can come and tell you what the baking soda is doing and tell you what the chemical bonds are in the flour. So that is the difference. So what we have set up is called the Advanced Diploma in Cosmetic Formulation Science. Fantastic program, co-funded by the Services CETA. It's a national program. So we attract people from the whole country. We predominantly target unemployed science graduates, and you'll be amazed how many of those are. So to date, it's now 4 years, we've trained 32 graduates. Most of them, in fact, all of them, just about, I think Jacinda is one of them. I see she's on the call here. She started her own product line, but most of them are employed and they're working. And some of them are actually now supervising groups in labs and doing quite fantastic work. So that's the advanced diploma. But I'm very happy with the landscape that has been cast for this meeting, because there are so many aspects to the cosmetic industry. So training is just one. Once you've trained people, they want to start their own companies. And for them to start their own companies, they need manufacturing. So now there's a need for us to look at contract manufacturing so that we can assist all of these small companies to do that. And there's a young man who's doing great work, who's got a background of manufacturing in Germany, who's doing that in Joburg. So there are all these pipelines that we're looking at, and it really is quite a fascinating space to be in. But as a deputy minister said so eloquently, the big challenge is, how do we change this? How do we turn this around? Because this industry is still 80% multinational. And yet we've got so much unemployment, which means the majority of the profits are leaving the country. So we need to increase the critical mass of people who understand the science, so that they can come up with innovations that will solve the problems that we have that are related to skin and hair, but solve them in a safe way. That way, we will increase the share of the market that belongs to South Africans, and predominantly to Black South Africans, as it should. So I think I will stop there for now. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Minister.
I mean, if you go to every corner of our street in the townships, there's a hair and skin salon. Almost every TVET college that I know trains, young people for beauty and hair care and all of that. So most of these are using these products that you're talking about.
Correct, sir.
And without us understanding the long-term implications. But in simple terms, what are the long-term implications for both the hair and the skin? In terms of the research that you've done.
Yes. Put simply, there are two major problems. So one is the effect of the chemistry. And the biggest effect of the chemistry is related to the pH of the product. So your normal pH, skin pH, is somewhere between 5 and 6. So when something is very alkaline, the pH scale goes up to 14. And we found that most of the relaxers fall between 13 and 14 on the pH scale. So that means those products can burn a hole in your skin. And that is why when people apply relaxers, they always use gloves, because they know, the hairdressers know that if their skin comes into contact with the relaxer, it will cause damage. Unfortunately, it is doing the same on the hair as well. So although they say, apply it carefully and then neutralize it, a lot of the time the neutralization is not uniform. It's not as good as it should be. The hair is not washed properly. The products are just basically not good for contact with human skin. They should not be on human skin. So the big move towards natural hair care products is hugely welcome. And there is quite a lot of research that is coming. And with time, we're going to be seeing more and more very good products in that space as we increase our capacity to produce efficacy. Because the big challenge with products is that it's one thing to claim that your product can do 1, 2, 3. It's another thing to scientifically prove the efficacy of that product. And that is what we are doing in the lab. And we've been kindly funded by the CETA to establish the Africa Research Institute for Skin Health, which will also be a national institute where we'll have all these tests available to the industry. And the building is starting at the beginning of next year. So
But why is this information not available out there? I mean, we just pick up products on the shelf because we see a picture of a handsome uh, uh, man who has either altered their hair or their skin, and we just apply it.
So, Deputy Minister, this is where you can help. Give us some funding. We will
So
set
that
up all these platforms because we need proper websites that are well developed, that have got information that gets updated. We need a system to do this. It's very difficult to do it as part of your side job when you're busy with other things. So we need to be able to employ people who can, pay attention and bring up this information. This is information that is crucial, as we say, and a lot of it we already have answers for. So, for instance, we did a lot of studies that relate to traction and the pulling of the hair with tight braids and weaves. And we can tell you how much damage that in itself is causing. And the combination of relaxers and traction makes it even worse. And we've got tips that we can give you about how to avoid traction. It mustn't be painful. If you're doing braids, you must have knotless braids and things like that. So there are clues that can be given to reduce the side effect.
Okay. So basically, those who are leading in the industry are deliberately withholding information about the health implications of all of this on the skin.
I think a lot of it is not really deliberate. I mean, part of it is ignorance. As they say, ignorance is bliss. Some of it is just genuine ignorance, and some of it is just that people are focused on what they're focused on. So if you're running a small business and you are interested in making a profit, you don't have the liberty to do public education and things like that. And institutions like us, who are public institutions, should be focusing on doing public education, but we don't have capacity to do it. So, and we are willing to do it.
Okay. No, that's fine. I think, have a bit of a discussion with Mr. Sibusiso Dladla, who's from the services CETA, who are the main sponsor of the project, the research lab at UCT. But we've also done quite extensive research on the contribution to the GDP of the hair and skin industry, and and I've looked at the extent of its contribution towards employment, towards support for small, medium, and macro enterprise. But also some of the challenges. I mean, Sbu, you guys are working with a lot of hair salons in the townships, in the suburbs, and everywhere else. To what extent is this a big issue for our economy?
Thank you, DM. Good afternoon, everyone. DM, we started this project close to about 4 years ago when we realized that there was a very sharp decline in new learners, qualified learners that are entering into the system, which was also being raised by the associations around the industry. So we realized that we actually need to do some research specifically into the hair and beauty industries, which actually gave us some very interesting insights, which I will just highlight to everyone listening so that at least we have a sense of the nature of the industry. What we found in the main is that the sector in itself is very informal, where you find that you have two spheres where you have a formal sector which is then where you would have your formal employment, people who are employment, pay tax in the formal buildings. And then you have a very high number of the informal sector, which is close to about 70% of the actual entire industry. Now, when you have an informal sector that large, it then becomes difficult to provide support in terms of your skills development, which is part of our mandate as well, and small business support. I mean, if you look at just purely the contribution of the beauty industry into our GDP, it contributes close to about 0.6% of the entire GDP, which if you translate it to rand value, it's just above 8 billion. Now, if you then drill that down in terms of the labor aspect of it, we find that in terms of labor absorption, we absorb close to about 2% of the entire labor market. But that is only in the informal sector, which then makes it very difficult to quantify the informal sector. In the research work that we did with the interviews that we did around the country with the salons that we had, we averaged around 6,000 employed workers within the sector that are in the formal employment sector. And if you look at the statistical analysis, you average around 34,000 to 40,000 in the informal sector. This covers your downtowns, your townships, and other areas as well. So if you look at the numbers, then it becomes about 5 to 7 times more people that are employed in the informal sector than those who are informed in the formal sector. This then also if you look at in terms of the numbers that the numbers that I just gave you now is actually the number of salons that are in the informal sector and also in the formal sector, which then also translates into the employment numbers, which then on average, your informal sector employs 5 times more than your formal sector, which becomes a challenge because if you look at the nature of the businesses, all of them are predominantly small businesses. Around 73% form small businesses. And what you find is that even in the number of respondents, above 70% of the respondents are non-South African residents of the country. So which means that, as Professor Khumalo mentioned, the revenue that is generated within that space is not revenue that circulates within the country. Now, with that revenue not circulating within the country, you also then bring in your product sales. By nature of having an 80% industry, which is multinational, it means that all profits generate are also leaving. So the main challenge that we have, DM, in my opinion, is the fact that the sector is very unregulated and extremely informal, which is a reflection of what we see if you take a drive on any given day across any town. You will see majority of the salons that you can see, you can actually just see that these are not within the formal space.
So I mean, if we say that, to a certain extent, about 70% of the products that we find on the shelves are not locally produced, where are they likely coming from?
Your Americas and your Europe, some very small percentage from African countries. But the main challenge with the products coming in, DM, is also the fact that most of them do not pass your Bureau of Standards in terms of health and safety and the type of chemicals and equipment and materials that is used to produce those products. So apart from the economic side, it also poses a health risk, which is why we also then have this particular program that we're running with Professor Khumalo to try and find ways to alleviate this major challenge that we're faced with.
Now, look, I mean, we can't run away from the politics of it, and I think both you and Prof, I want you to weigh in on this. The perception that particularly African and or black hair, should be altered in order for it to look presentable. It's a really big ideological issue that puts pressure on, in particular, black people to buy these products and to look presentable. People are into skin bleaching, hair bleaching, and all of this. Is this necessary? And if it is, is the project that we having at UCT aimed at helping us understand what are the basics that we need in order to deal with, because inevitably, I mean, it doesn't mean that, being exposed to the sun um, and all of that. That obviously has got its own health implications in terms of your health skin. But are we doing enough to educate ourselves in terms of what is necessary, and how do we not get duped into believing that the way we look is not how we're supposed to be looking, and that's why people want to look white? It's obviously a serious political and ideological issue.
Yes, DM. If I may go first before Prof.
Yep, please. Yeah.
I think also, the opinion of saying that straight hair or neat looking hair, for lack of a better word, is a professional look, is one of those perceptions that we need to start moving away from, to also start embracing our own heritage with regards to our hair. If my hair is so to say African, it does not mean that it's not me not being professional in terms of my appearance and look and where I'm employed or where I'm studying, with regards to the school issue that you raised earlier. One way that we've also tried to break this barrier, when we looked at our qualifications for hairdressing in particular, we realized that they were more geared to your Caucasian type of hair. So it meant that we had to undergo a process of also us re-educating ourselves, re-educating our stakeholders with regards to the different types of hair that are available there in the market, which then has also led us to the redesign and redevelopment of our qualification to include Afro hair, and also to have a separate qualification that speaks to Afro hair, specifically, so that learners that are coming into the pipeline can also be then trained on the use and how to treat Afro hair. Then there's the chemical side of it, which is what Prof. Khumalo and team are working on. And once we get a better sense and understanding of our hair and how chemicals react to our hair, which is significantly different from your Caucasian hair, then we can start embarking on national road trips and national educational tours, where we can actually start teaching everyone, basically, to say, this is how your hair is built, the basis of your hair, and also how your hair reacts to different chemicals. So hence the need and the drive to say you need to be careful in terms of what you put into your hair, and what impact it will have in the short term and also in the long term. So there is work that is being done. Granted, it's not accelerated enough, but there are the foundations that are being laid, and I'm hopeful that in the next 2 to 3 years we'll have an accelerated program where we can then address this issue.
Prof?
Thank you for the question, and thank you, Mr. Dladla. I couldn't agree with you more that there is a big plan to unravel quite a lot of work. But I think an important thing to always remember when one deals with these things is that you cannot dictate to people what they do. What you can do is you can produce the best science possible and offer them a potential to make informed choices. And that is really the focus of the lab. We want to produce the best science possible to show you what harm happens when you do A and B, and to show you what benefits of C and D are, but not at all to dictate to you what choices to make. And to actually illustrate this, you will see, for instance, with much as there are political forces that force people to make certain choices in jobs and things like that, dermatologists are horrified about this. How can you do this to yourself? How can you do? But it's fashion. They want to look bronze. They want to look, the browner the better. So there is that component of it. And then you look at younger people that are much younger, that are coming up now. Those kids can move from afro to twists to braids and weave in
and
1
it
year.
doesn't matter their color, their racial groups.
Yeah. And then you can see that as far as they're concerned, it's just style. It's whatever style they feel like wearing. It's not really a political issue for them. So I think we really have to be very careful and nuanced in our dealing with these issues, and also just bring in some academics. We've got lots of people who are doing political science or doing social science. They need to weigh in on this. And give people choices that are informed.
Yeah, but we also need to have your work available to the public. How are you ensuring that happens? Before I'm going to allow some few people from the audience or from the space to contribute. Please do request if you have a question for Sbu or for Professor Nala, just to yeah. But how do we get your I mean the work that you're doing available to the public?
Funding, DM, funding.
Because
Give
it's
me the
coming
money.
out. I mean, if you're speaking about pH level, if you're speaking about the acidity of okay, so my point is, if you're talking about the alkalinity of people's skin or of hair and all of that, that's very complex, and too scientific concept for people to be able to consume. So how do we get the work that you do in your research to be available to the public in a way that we can be able to consume that information and make decisions about what we need to do? Prof? Okay, I don't know what's happening with Prof, and it seems like almost everyone is muted. Prof, are you back?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you now.
DM, I said I can confirm and promise with everyone here present on this platform today that I will deliver this public information to you in the best possible way. Just give me the money, sir. Give me the funding.
Show me the money. But we have some of, well, I think one of your students or maybe not even she's now a graduate, who's part of your, I mean, who was part of your program at UCT. And I want to bring her in, but I want to check if there's no one from those who are with us in the space who wants to ask a question to both Sbu and to Prof before I bring in Nandipa. All right, maybe just start requesting to speak. But Nandipa, so you were in the UCT Hair and Skin Research Lab. And you are doing your master's, or you completed your master's in trichology. What is that? What is trichology?
Good afternoon, DM, and to everyone. Trichology is a study of it's a study of medicine in hair and skin.
Oh, okay. But why did you choose to be part of this project, and what are you doing now?
Good afternoon again, all. My name is Nandi Pameshala. I was born and raised in Queenstown, a small town in the Eastern Cape. After completing my matric, I pursued a degree in science at the University of Orange Free State, and I then worked for a clinical pathology services for a period of 8 years in East London, Eastern Cape. In 2017, I joined UCT to work as a laboratory technician at Hair and Skin Research Lab under Prof. Khumalo's supervision. So I'm currently a part-time student. I'm doing my master's, and my project is about determining active, toxic, illegal ingredients, including contaminants in face creams. So we're looking at the face creams that are sold by local vendors and supermarkets in Cape Town metropolis. And the aim of this project is, as I mentioned, is to screen the levels of actives, toxic and illegal ingredients that they include contaminants present in the face creams. So Prof gave me the opportunity to study. I came to work for Hair and Skin Research Lab, but it came to me as an interest since I worked in Hair and Skin Research Lab and everybody's talking about hair and skin. I was more interested in cosmetics. I wanted to know more and improve the way the products are made, or maybe get more information to share with public.
Mm.
And so, Prof,
Okay.
yeah, my project as I said, is focused more on skin lightening products.
Okay.
So these skin lightening products, they are known to contain mercury, hydroquinone, which are illegal active ingredients.
What are
So they are
those so what are the what's mercury and what's the other one?
hydroquinone.
Hydroquinone. Zenza ntoni kwi skin sakho lezinto?
Their mechanism is to inhibit the action of an enzyme, which is responsible for which plays a role in the synthesis of melanin. Melanin is the pigment which is responsible for skin color.
Yeah. So
Yes.
melanin is what makes me black and what makes me
White or
light and light and white and all of this other. Oh, okay. So mercury it blocks the capacity of your skin to be able
yes,
to do. I mean to. Oh, okay.
mercury and hydroquinone.
So what's the problem with that? What's the problem?
The problem with that, those compounds that are associated with adverse health effects, they've been reported to be associated with skin diseases such as acne vulgaris, dermatitis, contact dermatitis, and also some neurological diseases.
Okay.
So
Yeah. Those sounds like very serious stuff that you're talking about in trichology. So how far are you with your masters?
on my second year of study, I'm a part-time. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm submit
Oh,
next
okay.
year.
Oh, okay. We also have Karabo. Karabo Kekana is the founder of Afro. What does Afro Ama do, Karabo? What do you do there? Okay, Karabo seems to be not with us yet, but we have Liz. Liz is here. And Liz is the founder of Masodi Organic. You producing some products, Liz?
Yes, we are. So we are in the business of what I call revolutionizing beauty. And I think, it's been such a pleasure just listening to
Revolutionizing
revolutionizing
beauty.
beauty. Absolutely. And I think it's been a pleasure
Wow.
just listening to all the speakers because they have been touching on a lot of the things that we consider ourselves to be in the business of. And I think, just touching on some of the key things that people have spoken about in terms of what can we do to get, the local players at the top of the food chain in terms of just being the dominant players of the beauty industry in South Africa. I think I totally agree with what Prof said. And one of the things that I fundamentally believe is that um, any industry requires strong competition in order to be able to be innovative. Um, a lot of the times when you look at like monopolistic industries or industries that have massive strong players, like very few massive strong players, they're not competitive enough because people are very comfortable in the positions that they occupy. And one of the things that I think I want to urge, especially local players like the likes of Masudi Organics, is for us to be hugely competitive in how we approach business, in how we approach the formulation of our products, in how we approach the marketing and the narratives of the products that we make, and how we even approach the multinationals that many of us are intimidated by. We have to be hugely competitive in order to unleash the hidden innovation that we have. So many of us are actually genuinely concerned about the well-being of Black people, and so many of us are genuinely concerned in creating products that are not harmful to Black people, because a lot of the local brands are actually curated and led by particularly Black women. So a lot of us, when we're creating these kinds of brands and these products, we're creating these brands for ourselves and we're creating these brands for our loved ones. And therefore, there's a lot more care that we put into the kinds of products that we put out there. There's a lot more care that we put into the communication and the narratives that we feed people out there, right? So I think the moment we're competitive, the consumer essentially will then choose us automatically. I don't think you can force you can force this kind of change, or you can force consumption on people. I would love us to be able to do that, but I think it's hugely ambitious to say we can force people to consume local. People consume what they want to consume. People consume what they buy into. People consume what resonates with them. And I think that is the task that as local players we have, and we have to also recognize. And I think I also agree with what Prof also said about, the need for funding. A lot of the local players that aren't, at their peak, it are not in that position because they're not smart or because they don't have great visions. It's because a lot of the financial or resource limitations mean that people offer 20% of what they have in their minds. And because of that, then it inhibits the innovation that we would like to bring to the table for the consumer. Because of that, it inhibits the marketing muscle that a lot of us would like to bring to the table. And I think the second thing is on the narratives and the politics, right? I think there's a lot of educational work that has been happening, and I will credit hugely the work of influencers and activists actually in this space. A lot of education in terms of saying I don't have to comb my hair. In fact, I don't want to comb my hair, which is absolutely fine. That does not necessarily mean that you don't need to nourish your hair in different ways. People are starting to talk about sulfates and the effects of things like sulfates as ingredients, parabens, and so on. Things like mineral oils, palm oil, just thinking about the environment, right, are quite detrimental. A lot of the educational work comes from a lot of the brands, and I think small brands or local brands particularly are investing so much in these kinds of things. We just need to communicate it well to the consumer to say, hey, we are free from sulfates and we're free from parabens and we're free from mineral oils, because not only do we care for your body, but we also care about the environment. And the shame is that the cost of the product that is free from some of these things, the harmful ingredients, is higher than the cost of the product that has them, right? And it feels unfair then when we go onto the retail shelf and you're
So you're saying what? The cost of the harmful ingredients in the product are more
are
than
cheaper. So a harmful a
uh
harmful ingredient is cheaper to
oh
use
yeah, it's
than
cheaper.
yeah than a thoughtful ingredient. And the disadvantage of that then is that when the consumer is not educated on that, you are at a disadvantage in the market, because you make your product for 50 rands, I make my product for 100 rands, but the consumer who is not educated about the wellness that comes within the beauty space and the ingredients, might actually penalize the one who's trying to do the right thing. So again, the educational work that Prof is talking about, the educational work that a lot of activists are doing, the educational work that a lot of influencers are doing, then becomes important. And I think lastly, if I'm just thinking about from a capacity perspective,
So your products don't have mercury.
no. So
If we ask Prof, she's got very sophisticated machinery there that's smooth funded.
yeah, yeah.
So if we say to Prof, look, we've got Liz here, and she's got a couple of products. Can you test them? So your products will stand the test of time.
I absolutely am confident about that. And the reason being, when we're
Good.
formulating our products, we were formulating for ourselves, right? And formulating for the likes of Prof. So it's also important.
Yeah.
But I'll also say that the range of ingredient is long, and it's almost like there's banned ingredients. There's ingredients that research is showing that are harmful, but are not necessarily banned, and there are ingredients that are starting to only now be questioned. And I think the range of all the choices that people have to make, it's a trade-off at any given point. And sometimes choosing to
Yeah.
do the right thing can actually make you more expensive or make your formulation not foam as much, like in the case of sulfates and so on. I think what is required with that kind of compromise is a lot of educational counter work.
Mm, mm, mm. Good. So so you do what for both hair and skin?
Yeah, we do.
And you use them?
Yeah, we do. We do both hair care and skincare. All our hair care products can be found at Click stores in 3 countries: South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia, and as well as Pick and Pay stores across South Africa. We ship internationally. When you buy from our online store. And we just continue trying to grow from strength to strength through what we call thoughtful marketing. If you look at our social media, the imaging that we show, we have to be responsible in terms of the types of images that we show. We have to be responsible in terms
Yeah.
of not just selling people long hair. It's careless sometimes the things that brands do to try and attain the customer's trust, right? So it's important for us as brands to communicate the value, that our products bring to the table ethically and as honestly as possible. Instead of trying to promise people ridiculous hair growth, we will say, hair growth is a function of 3 things. One is it's a function of genetics. Some people just genetically can grow long hair. Two, it's a function of the routines that you follow, or the regimens that you follow, right? Depending on how you look after your hair, some of the processes that you follow is important. And lastly, it's also a function of the product that you put or not put in your hair. So instead of just saying use Masori Organics, we say use Masori Organics, but take into consideration your genetics and take into consideration the routines that you follow in nurturing both your hair and your skin.
Yeah. Good. We have Dr. Hlupeka Chabalala from the Department of Science and Innovation. And Doc, I mean, our department is, through the Indigenous Knowledge System section, we're looking at hair and skin care. But why is it important that we involve this government in this? But also in the research and innovation of cosmetics, and their link to, to indigenous knowledge system and what we're talking about today. Okay, Doc. All right, he's not yet. Doc is not here, but let me take Jasantha. Jasantha, you are also in the research lab at UCT. What are you studying there?
Good afternoon, Deputy Minister, Prof. K, and everyone else. So I actually studied the Advanced Diploma in Cosmetic Formulation Science in 2019. So I completed.
Oh, okay, you're done.
And then last year I was trying to continue where I was interning, but sadly the company actually closed this year, so that didn't happen. And so I started my own natural skincare brand. And the reason I actually come from an IT background, I left it behind because I have sensitive skin. And even though they make claims that something is natural, I was still breaking out. So like you can even see on my Instagram, I've been trying to talk about ingredients and safety of ingredients. Like anybody can go and make soap or any other product and put it on the shelf and sell it tomorrow. And you have like very nice marketing, or you have the money for things like that. Your product smells amazing, but you haven't really conformed to EU regulations or South African regulations. So you've got allergens, and then your essential oils could be too high. So that's like some of the things that at the moment I'm looking at. There's allergens in your essential oils. You can say it's fragrance free, but they could be colorants or other things that are actually irritating your skin. So for me, it's got a lot to do that there's no actual regulation. You got the money to do the marketing. You can put anything on your label to make a claim, and somebody's going to buy that rather than a product that like I've tested. I've done the research the way Prof has shown us, and to show that it's like got the proper dermal limits and whatnot. So at the moment, I created a cream for eczema that actually works, but I need to still get money for a pH meter. I still need to be able to buy products, the ingredients, because they have like minimum order requirements. So there's like a lot of things, and they still pay for money for stability testing and preservation tests. So there's like a lot of things that I have to go through before I can actually get there. But I think like from what I've been doing like with my Instagram, because I have to basically do everything from formulation to social media to create my website, is that there's a lot of people out there. It comes down to personal choice. They rather smell good and then suffer the consequences later and break out than to actually like make an informed decision. So like I was teaching people how to read labels, and so that's what I was trying to do. So if there was a platform where we actually as part of UCT, I think it would carry more weight to like for HSR to say like we've got this informal knowledge sharing sessions. Maybe it's like to Zoom, like, hey guys, this is what we're looking at. I'll refer back to post I was talking about people using products where the products have expired, but it's just such a lovely product. You just want to carry on using it, but it's not really good. And then like, are you allergic to nuts? Are you using products that have nut oils, or do you have like honey and beeswax allergies? So like, how to read labels. So for me, it's not just about creating natural skincare that's safe. It's also like to eliminate allergy ingredients. Obviously, you can't cover every single allergy, but to make the consumer more aware. So yeah, if I could actually have a better platform to be able to do that, I'd love to be able to support it in some way. But there's like different categories. So Prof is trying to help first to get you to understand how to create safe, your skincare or your hair care. And then it's once you're in the market, whether you're working at a company or you have your own business, how do you inform the consumer? So I think that's also very important. And then the next one with the regulation, we don't have it. I can claim something is natural when it's not really 100% natural. So like, I know if you go to the stores, or like a health shop, somebody can go and put, like how Lush smells very nice, but the products are not very, it's not really natural. It's just made fresh. And it smells really strong. It smells great, but it's not really good for your skin. So you've got like these different pathways or different things that you actually have to consider when trying to work, navigate this field. So that's where I am at the moment.
Okay. Karabo has joined us, and Karabo is the founder of Afro Ama. What do you do, Karabo, at Afro Ama?
Good afternoon, Deputy Minister. It's Karabo here. It's actually Afro Amour, and it's deliberately spelled amour as in French love. Love. Yes,
yes. Okay.
Amore, yes.
All right.
So
Yeah.
the company, we also are a hair care and skincare, natural skincare brand. And but first and foremost, the company is all about celebrating Africa and Africa's beauty, diversity, and everything that comes out of Africa. So yes, we focus on products that are specifically made for Africans. However, we want to celebrate the diversity of Africans. So we start with education first. So we lead with education first. We teach most of our clients. It starts with teaching them how to take care of their skin, what the skin is, what hair is, and then we give them the products to support their skin and their hair. So, I've got a lot of criticism where people say, your company is growing so slowly, but it is deliberate because we are all about education. We're a great fan of Professor and the teachings that she does out of UCT. We try to push the narrative that we need to look after our skin properly. And for such a long time, the type of beauty and cosmetics that have been coming out have been very focused on, they've been very Eurocentric. They were not designed for Africans by Africans. So that's what Afro Amour does.
Oh, okay. It's quite interesting that you've been working with the research lab at UCT.
No, I haven't.
How has that been beneficial?
No, I haven't.
Following.
I'm a stalker, if I can say that.
But how does that help you?
It's helped me quite a lot because when I went down this path, I'm also from an IT background. I went down this path because I suffer from endometriosis, and I found the link between cosmetics and hormones, and that link led me to then creating this whole range of products. So with the research that keeps coming out of UCT, because I am not formally trained, it helps me to understand the ingredients and what the South African landscape looks like. So that it's really, really helped us. I mean, there's one that was done, a research that was done about the different types of hair textures that are prevalent in South Africa, and it was a real eye opener for me because when we formulate, we always formulate for about 4 types of hair types, but that research really opened my eyes to say you need to make sure that you test all your products, because not everybody's going to react according to the 4 sets or the 4 defined types that are that have been laid down in the market.
Okay, I want to I'm going to invite well, I have been, and I want to continue inviting you if you want to speak, if you're part of the space. I mean, what decision, just to talk about why are you using skin or hair products? What are the reasons? Is it for aesthetics reasons? Is it because you want your pictures on Instagram and Twitter to look better? Is it for health reasons? For dermatological reasons? Or do you just like me see your other friends having funky hair and you're like, look, I need to have that kind of a hairstyle? What kind of decision goes into that, and the kind of product? Do we really read the fine print in terms of what goes into our hair? Do those who produce the products that we use, do they tell us that they've got mercury and all sorts of stuff that will alter our pH level to go shoot up to 14? This is quite exciting science stuff, but I mean, how do we navigate through all of this, and what's your perception about and rightly so, and I get what what some of my panelists are saying, that you can't impose on people what to do. If someone wants to whiten their skin, let's do that. But what happens when people are being shamed for having a black skin? In high school, I think the blacker you were in my high school, the more a subject of ridicule you were going to be. We didn't like shaving our head clean because having hair was like the coolest thing, escal and all of those things. So what influences us as individuals to take those decisions about how we look? But also, if you're part of the space, you are, in the hair and beauty industry. What's your understanding of what's happening in that space? What kind of support? What inspired you to be part of that? Industry. Let's engage. Let's talk. It's it's an open space. But I wanted to check something else with you, Karabo. You said you're not formally trained.
Yes,
Karabo?
I'm not formally trained.
Yeah. So how did you get your training?
So I'm a chemical engineering dropout, right? And I left chemical engineering to do IT back in the days, quite a long time ago. However, when I started getting an interest in the products, I was able to rely on the training that I had, back then when I used to be in the lab. So basically that's how I picked it up. And over the years, right now I'm actually studying, and it's actually quite sad. We don't have institutions like mine, not like institutions where they can, you can have a short course of sorts for people like me who wants to learn more about formulation. So I'm learning overseas, which is quite a shame, I think. However, as well, I'm now recently finding that we've got all these BSc graduates that are able to help us. And I didn't know that that's another avenue that's available for us. I don't have to be formulating myself. I could be, speaking to somebody else to actually help me with this formulation, and assisting me as well. But that's how I happen to end up in formulation. Hello?
Yes, I'm saying that now you don't have to informally stalk the prof. Now you can talk to her and her students, and I'm sure they're quite excited with the fact that their work, their research has been helpful to your to your work. But we also have Chulumango Ngozi. I hope I've pronounced your name properly. You want to talk to us, Chulu? Okay, maybe just to probably Chulu is gathered. Oh, yeah, yes. There you go, Chulu. Chulu Mango.
Thank you.
We can hear
I
you.
wanted to find out from
I think we have a problem with that. But, Prof, I mean, Karaba is raising an interesting point about the lack of or the absence of some of the programs that people like her want to do, especially short programs. I suppose, as an entrepreneur, she's all over the show running or spreading Afro love. But what kind of interventions are you looking at expanding your programs, certificates, and diplomas, and all of that?
So Karabo raises a very important question. So there is a diploma that is a post-matric diploma that is offered by the Cosmetic Chemistry Society of South Africa, if I'm not mistaken. It's either the Cosmetic Society of South Africa or CTFA, one of the two. And that is a part-time course that can teach you basic background information. And I think it's by correspondence. So it should be suitable for most people who want just to have some introduction. The issue with us is that we want high science, high-end science. And although our course is a whole year, you only spend 2 months at UCT. But because it's an accelerated program, you have to have very solid understanding of chemistry. So we only generally take people who've got ideally chemistry 3. On exception, we might take someone with chemistry 2 because you have to be able to keep up with the program. So we do 2 months at UCT. By the end of that 2 months, you know the basic science behind, cosmetic formulation in terms of creams, lotions, spray, gels, cosmetic, and fragrances and all of those things. Then we place you in a company laboratory. And we've had good support from companies like L'Oreal, Unilever, Procter & Gamble. So we place people there, and then they spend the rest of the year on the job training whilst continuing with the UCT program online. And the advantage of that is that at the end of the year, you have converted a young person from being an unemployed science graduate to being a cosmetic formulator who has 1 year work experience. The second point that Abu made is particularly important. And this is the realization that you don't have to do everything. If you are setting up a company for yourself, you can be the business side, business development, and partner with a scientist who's actually done the training so that you don't compromise the level of formulation that you're able to produce. So that's quite important.
Okay.
And I think that is why we need to create this platform where people can find each other and they can be able to partner across different skills. That's how you build strong companies, is if you've got people with different skills.
Yeah. We Aknat Max, are you using hair or skin products? But you don't look like you have hair.
You're quite right, Deputy Minister. Hair is not a problem I choose to engage in these days. But I'm extremely fascinated by the conversation and encouraged. And I wanted to just add maybe 1 or 2 things. First of all, thank you for the platform. I think it's amazing. I think this is what leadership should be doing. all over in every single sector. Congratulations for that. The second thing I wanted to mention is I'm a father of three girls, and I see the challenges that they go through with self-identity, and it flip-flops from them wanting to wear this long hair that I don't know comes from which country, to them, looking for skin products, and making sure that they look nice and smooth and all of that, and I see the dilemma there. But I'd also like to say I'm very encouraged that the science is being done in South Africa, and I think what we need to see as a nation is for the science to start to go very quickly to being commercialized. And I want to encourage the entrepreneurs that are on the platform to say, please continue. I think I know it's an uphill battle when you walk into Edgar's and you see L'Oreal and Estee Lauder, all of them dominating there. But I think today it's quite easy for an entrepreneur to begin to amplify what they're wanting to do using the social media and the platforms that are available there for us. And I'd love to see a little bit more boldness. I think it'll do very well for the entire economy. I'm not in that industry myself, but I would be very, very encouraged to see some of that movement happening. So just 2 cents worth of encouragement there.
Your girls are gonna think, Daddy doesn't want to spend money on beautiful hair for us.
It's a challenge. I have to convince them that the hair that they have already is beautiful, and I seem to win that fight in stages. This month I win it. Next month it looks like I'm completely lost.
Yeah.
So
but I mean it's quite a big child. Do they go to school?
They go to school, and yes, they are in a school where they share classrooms with Caucasians and other nations, of course, and many of us seem to think that the influence comes from there. But my experience is that it's actually not. I think the influence amongst the Africans is strong enough for young kids of today, so they don't all want to look like some beauty queen that comes from the UK. Rather, they seem to be idolizing a few of the superstars that we have and the influence that we have here in our country. There are many of them, and that's quite encouraging as well.
And I mean, and this is not only directed to you, but to everybody else. I mean, the extent within which platforms such as Miss South Africa, but also magazines and various publications, newspapers, television, that projects a particular idea of what beauty is for both men and women, and of all colors. And how they entrench the concept of beauty. That's, I mean, someone mentioned that most of the products that we use are from Europe, and those seem to be entrenching the idea that beauty is, what's from the UK, what's from France, or whatever. Do you think that that's a big challenge?
I'll take a shot at that. I think it is a challenge.
Yeah.
I think it is a challenge from my very uninformed and non-expert opinion, I must say. I think it is a challenge because we all have access to it, right? Unlike in the past, where only the kids who had television could have access to certain bits of influence. But I think these days you just need to have a cell phone and you are bombarded with influences from everywhere. But also that being said, it's just as easy for us to influence ourselves and send the messages across. I mean, the prof was talking about the fact that certain products are actually damaging to us. And why isn't that message coming across? Why isn't that being strongly spoken about, and the warnings being being amplified around that when the ability to create such influence has become so much easy to access. So that's my piece on that one, Deputy Minister. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we have Dr. Chabalala, who's working at our Department of Science and Innovation, responsible for Indigenous Knowledge System, and part of your work, Doc, includes hair and beauty products. Why are we involved in this as government?
Well, one of the reasons why we decided to look into natural products is because some years back we moved around the country and we asked indigenous knowledge holders and really people who are in the indigenous knowledge system space, what type of priorities should government focus on? And outside medicines, most of the knowledge holders advise that there is a need for us as government to conduct research in medicines that can be used as for health and beauty as well. So our focus really is indigenous knowledge based cosmeceuticals, which are really cosmetics, but at the same time they are medicines that then take care of some of the things that the Professor Kumalo and some of her students have actually seen out there. The acne, the eczema, and some of the horrendous skin diseases and or hair based conditions that we're seeing in the country. But on top of that, the cosmeceutical industry alone, it's a 55 billion US dollar market, and it's growing at 5%. I think by 2025 they think that it would have grown by 25%. And South Africa, as a country, as the the third most biodiverse country in the world, together with our unique indigenous knowledge on this type of products and our biodiversity, we felt it's very important for us to play a role in here. And finally, really, it's time that our people, especially melanated people around the world, it is time that as melanated people, we appreciate our identity, and that whatever we consume, it should be based on knowledge, just as it was in the ancient time, that people did whatever they did based on knowledge. That's why our work is called Indigenous Knowledge-Based Technology Innovation, in that there must be African knowledge systems first, which then goes through various forms of integral research and development, which is multi-sectoral. So we don't only use one way of doing research. So we use various forms of research, which is followed by by inclusive innovation. What does that mean? It means that if there is a medicine that comes from Makonde, what we do is that we do that research together with the community or the healers from Makonde, followed by us then setting up technology transfer and demonstration facilities in those communities, for them to start growing these medicines or these plants that are used as cosmetics, but also to do the extraction and the production in those facilities, in those communities, thereby, tilting poverty on its head at community level. The other issue to take into consideration is that it is important that, as government, we support the growing African scientists and innovators. So the cry that Prof. Kumalo and some of the colleagues here are mentioning, that this industry, this work needs a lot of funding and support. It is really valid because, for example, Professor Kumalo has been part at times, sometimes in her life, she has been part of our cosmeceutical platform. And really, she really opened our eyes in terms of the damage that these chemicals that are coming from foreign countries into our countries are doing to our people. They are not even legal in their own home countries, and it's surprising that we as Africans, we're consuming this. So we really support all the initiatives.
But how do they enter our market?
How do we enter the market?
How do they enter our market if they are legal in their own country?
This there's a lot of counterfeit goods that enter the African market because our regulations, one, are not that powerful, or if they are powerful, we don't have the powerful enforcement agencies that can actually come in place and make sure that these things do not cross our borders. And this is the role of, for example, customs at the borders. So with all these challenges, that's how we find these markets, these products in our countries.
Okay. So, but what has been our impact as government? In contributing towards changing the face, both of the market and the kind of support that should be given to, for instance, UCT and some of the people who are independently producing their own products for consumption, but also in terms of communications and to empower the consumers, to make proper decisions.
Well, from our side, especially at the DSI, we established this indigenous knowledge-based cosmeceuticals platform, which is a platform of course, scientists from universities and science councils, together with various knowledge holders and communities that have these plans that are required by various formulators and small medium enterprises that need the ingredients, these natural ingredients, for them to come up with hair and skin products. So that's one aspect, that's one container that we actually came up with to then support high-end research. For example, from our human capital unit, we have these research chairs. For example, Prof. Kumalo, Prof. Lal at the University of Pretoria. So we're starting to make an impact at academic level, whereby research that then speaks to melanated people is actually done and prioritized and supported. At community level, as I said, our model says that scientists can't do research for knowledge holders or communities. Our model is called Ubuntu-based bioinnovation model, whereby everything is decided by scientists together with the knowledge holders, that they know us, the real primary researchers that know these various herbs and what it is that they treat and what it is that they actually change in a human body. So some of the impact that you may see, we were just granted land by the city of Tshwane to put in an extraction facility outside Mamelodi, for example, whereby we'll be extracting various ingredients that various formulators can use for various skin conditions, including health and wellness. We have already put in a facility in Komazi in Pumalanga for Pepisa, natural products. We are also setting up one um, uh, uh, facility somewhere in the Eastern Cape in a place called Ndabakazi, because most of the plant materials are coming from those areas. So the idea is to then empower our people instead of really reducing our people into modern day slaves. We're saying it is time our people own this means of
Our people.
our yes, South
Yeah.
Africans, our people in South Africa
Yeah.
and in the African continent, because
Okay.
really our model is actually appreciated also by the African Union, by the World Health Organization, and we train
Yeah.
other African countries to actually use this model, whereby we're saying it's important for us to empower those small medium enterprises. We have we have
Yep.
we have a 6 months entrepreneurship coaching program with the Innovation Hub, for example, whereby we train these small medium enterprises and the knowledge holders that are organized into proper businesses, small, medium enterprises that are then registered and then incubated. And like this, then they can go ahead and become proper businesses. This is a little bit of impact that we're making. With the research chairs, we're producing masters and PhDs. Some of them are already having their own companies. We incubate up to 5 to 6 small companies at the Innovation Hub at the CSIR. And most of them after 12 months, then we then get graduated out. However, they cry that funding is an issue, especially in indigenous knowledge system. It is a fact. There is no way in which our scientists can make greater impact if they are not well supported. Also, bringing in the TIA and the IDC for them to actually fund the entire value chain, we managed to then pull together what we call the National Indigenous Products Program, which will then fund research and development up to concept generation at TIA, and then the commercialization aspect of it will be taken care of by the IDC. So we're making headways in this sector, slowly but sure.
Okay, good. We're gonna be wrapping up, and I'm going to be giving each of you a minute just to a reflection on the discussion we just had, but also point out to one or two key things that we want to see happening moving forward. And I want to start with Sbu from Services CETA.
Thank you, DM.
Sure.
I liked, I think it's Dr. Shabalala's research model and approach, the Ubuntu research model, which then says we are not the experts. We rather gather information from the communities, which is something that we as a CETA as well can also incorporate in our activities when we're doing the work that relates to the research work, the qualifications development elements, and also our attempts at trying to formalize this industry as well with the relevant partners that we have, being your associations, labor, also our different government partnerships as well that we have. But DM, just to as a wrap up on my side, I think part of our plans as the CETA is obviously to, once we regulate these particular sectors, we then are able to directly contribute to the economy, reduce your unemployment rates, increase your skilled labor force, and also a byproduct of which will then be the safety of the customers and the consumers of these products and the services that we train the people that will be servicing those particular customers. So it's been a very interesting discussion. Thank you very much, DM, for also bringing me into this conversation. I do appreciate the opportunity.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay. Karabo, what's your big takeaways today?
So my biggest takeaway today is that I'm not alone. So it's quite good to hear the type of research and the type of plans that are in place, like the TIA was saying. I think my biggest plea is to say, can this be made visible and more accessible to entrepreneurs? We are here. We some of us want to take the baton and actually promote Black hair and skin, or indigenous hair and skin, and we want to be the ones manufacturing for our own, for our people. So can these be made accessible more to entrepreneurs, or how do we get access to all these programs that were being spoken about? And then lastly, all I want to say is that there is still a stigma and a bias towards a Eurocentric view towards beauty, and it's up to us. As much as we can say that we can't force people to consume our own things, or but there's still a stigma, and it falls upon each and every single one of us to recognize the stigma and to call it out and to promote being African and loving ourselves as God has made us. We are beautiful. Thank you so much for the platform, Deputy Minister. Thank you, everybody.
Definitely. Professor Khumalo,
DM,
you are the inspiration to this discussion.
DM, I can't tell you how humbled and grateful I am to have heard everyone today And Dr. Shabalala, kudos to you. So I haven't seen you in a long time, and I'm just amazed to hear how much progress. You know, what we need to realize more than anything is that we need each other. And I think we need a platform where we can connect, where information can be accessible, where there can be connections and cross-talking. And I am willing to set up this platform. I think, from individual, formulators like Jacinta struggling on their own at the periphery, to people who've already started companies who are way ahead, who maybe need testing, to other people who might need something to do with marketing. I mean, we can create a platform here that can be very enabling and can support across, and people can know these are the people who've done formulation, and if I want to partner, maybe these are the people I could partner with. I really think there's a wealth of information that needs to be passed across. Thank you very much for organizing, DM.
Super stuff. Dr. Chabalala, a minute for you.
Thank you so much, DM. Of course, one is that we need to, as government, we need to set up policies and strategies that are inclusive, that really recognize the fact that we as Africa and Africans, we have knowledge that can actually serve us and serve our people. Secondly, we need to then put in place all these enabling mechanisms. We need funding. We need infrastructure. We need containers like these platforms that Prof. Khumalo is talking about, for us to then train expert scientists and innovators in this field. Finally, maybe at your level as ministers, to really help unlock, or maybe first of all to help us work together with other government departments which are responsible for making sure that this information goes out there. Secondly, that the innovators and inventors, they have access to market, but also they have support for this market. Like this, it will be much more easier for our people to actually generate wealth. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, I can see you love our people so much. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us today. And I think clearly for me, I think there's a serious need to strengthen regulations around how all of these products, firstly the legal ones, access our market, but secondly, for information to be very clear on the kind of dangers that the products that are there on the shelves have on our skin and on our hair. And thirdly, regulations that help us to empower local production and give local producers of these products market access, and some of the good work that's coming out from UCT, but also from the Department of Science and Innovation, and the support that the services SETA is giving to our universities and our TVET colleges. I think that should be, applauded. Yes, there still remain a big debate around the ideological and political issues around the concept of beauty and how Eurocentric it has become, and how we've been made to believe that you need to do certain things to your skin and to your hair. You need to either tan it, or you need to, I think it's quite interesting, Prof, that some people who are black want to be lighter or have a lighter skin. Some people who are white wants to have a darker skin. Some who have curly hair wants to have it straightened, and some who have straight hair wants to have dreadlocks. That's the kind of things that we having out there, and that it's people's choices. But I think the deeper discussion around the ideological and political issues on how people who choose to remain who they are, be it white, black, Indian, colored, in terms of their skin color, being comfortable there, or in terms of their hair, that some of those are being shamed for wanting to look like like that. So a lot more needs to be done, and I want to encourage you, Prof, and all of you to continue with the discussion and the dialogue and the engagement amongst yourself. But I also want to take this opportunity to thank those who've been with us on this platform for quite some time, who've joined us every Friday. Next week, we're going to be looking at unemployed graduates. Do you know an unemployed graduate? What do they? What's their qualification? What are the reasons why they're unemployed? And we're going to be getting some people to be talking to us about some of the opportunities that are available in government. We're going to also try and get some people from the private sector, from business, who are going to be talking to us around the opportunities that are being offered. Engage with the question of a skills mismatch and some of the programs offering in our universities and TVET colleges. Are those relevant? Do you feel that you went to university or to TVET college and wasted your time with a qualification that you can't get a job, or you can't even create or use that qualification for your own business? That's what we're looking at next week. So I'm hoping that you'll join us, and thank you very much. And don't forget, it's local government elections on the 1st of November. All of us, let's go and vote. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye.
Thank you, DM, and all your guests, and thank you everyone for joining the space.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
I've put you on the
Have a
spot.
lovely weekend.
I've put you on the spot now with what we're talking about next week. So let's get going. Thank you so much, Florence, for.
I hear that, DM. We'll work on it.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.